I'm just going to use my burner email because I think my 2 personal emails already have accounts. So I'm going to have to do it with this one. And obviously choose a nice secure password. And yeah, I mean, email preferences doesn't really matter. And then you're going to need to verify it to make sure that you're not a bot. Cool. So that's created that account. And then it'll ask you some questions. These are mostly for sort of promotional email stuff. If you're signed up to it, it will sort of might show you things you're interested in. I'm technically not a student anymore, but I'll put student. And then you just put your program experience. Again, this doesn't really matter too much. This is just for them. And then that should complete setup. And then you're gonna want to verify it.
There you go.
Right, cool. So we should be all verified. So you're gonna end up with a screen like this. This is your profile. These are your current repositories. We haven't done any forks yet, so those will be 0. So if you guys navigate to the newest link in the chat, that's the base repository. So this is our sort of master copy of all the code. This is the one that we edit and upload to production.
So when we say code though here, this doesn't actually have any code in it.
No.
These are all of our decision trees. We're using GitHub in a very non-programming way for this aspect, and just using it as version control for the decision trees. For those of you, I guess Anna, you can explain the decision trees we're doing first and foremost.
Yeah.
How we're doing it, and then we'll explain how to upload.
Cool, epic. So obviously we're coding up the interviews, but the team of coders, including me, they don't have legal experience. They're not lawyers. So while the logic is simple enough, we don't have the lawyer experience to actually understand what information goes where and how it fits together. So for this reason, we came up with an idea of doing decision trees. So these are just sort of interviews, I guess, in their own right, which if you were sitting with a user in front of you, you would ask them these questions, and based on their answers, you would ask different questions and follow up, or you'd end the interview because they've exhausted all the possible options.
We realized that looks really confusing to a coder.
Yes.
That's like second nature, because that would basically pseudocode, which is why we've come up or started doing these other formats as well.
Yeah, so this is probably the easiest way to visualize it. It's just a normal flowchart, and depending on sort of what the answers to the questions are. So for example, the first question here is, do you have a problem with appliance or the mains wiring? So depending if they pick wiring or the appliance, it'll go to different directions, and it will ask them, who owns it, the landlord or the tenant. And once we've reached a terminal sort of point, so if the tenant owns the appliance, then the interview is over because the tenant is the one who's responsible for repairing it. Yeah. Okay. So essentially, yeah, that's what we need from contributors. It's to make these decision trees informed with legal experience. To actually make a contribution, there's this little button that says fork. So if everybody clicks that with their account, and it will make a copy on your profile, a copy of that repository. So this is your local copy. You can do whatever you want with it. And the idea is that you change it however you want, and then you submit a pull request and sort of send it up back to the base copy for us to have a look at what's changed and if we accept the submission or not.
Yeah, so what you're changing here isn't changing anything that's on the master, basically.
Yeah, so essentially, don't worry about it. Even if you've made a mistake somewhere or you've changed something you shouldn't have, that's not a big deal, because we'll have a look at it, we'll see it, and we'll be like, okay, this is a mistake, and just reject the pull request, and then you can redo it and resubmit. So yeah, it's pretty foolproof. All right, so I'm gonna make a test file. So,
and if you want to show first the list of topics that we have as well.
Yes, that's a good point actually. Right, so we have a list of topics here that we currently need. We've just finished structural repairs. I don't think, Amy, does that include pipes and drains?
I'll have to look at that, but I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
All of those.
So yeah, essentially we want to do the repairs sort of tenancy problems first before release. These include, gas, sanitation, like using a space heater, water heating, etc. So these are pretty much just ideas. If you have a topic that's not on here that you think is really important for us to add, then feel free to submit that as well. So this is mostly just sort of for some guidance of where to go. And yeah, so I'm just gonna make a test file. Right, from there, navigate to decision trees and click the add file. It should say upload files or create new files. If you just create a new file, and then we can just test to make sure everyone understands how the fork procedure works. Right, give your file a name. It really doesn't matter what it is. I just name it testfile.txt. And yeah, just write a short sentence in there. Again, doesn't really matter what it is. Right, once everybody's done that, cool. Are we ready to go to the next bit? Right, so once you've sort of finished with your file, all you've got to do is commit it. Usually you would, it gives you a default title for the commit here, but you can keep it, or you could write what you actually did. It'd just make it a bit easier for us, but it doesn't really matter too much.
This is really good as well as if you're working with different versions of the same file and you want to remember, okay, I got to this point at this time, so you just say what you did. But if you're only submitting one file once, then yeah, it really doesn't matter what you call it there.
Alright, and then you commit the new file. Now, you can see on your local copy, you have testfile.txt. That is your local copy, so it's not synced up with ours yet. Again, the beauty of GitHub is that it acts like a backup as well. So as long as it's uploaded here, you never have to worry about computer crashing and losing all your data. You can work on multiple versions. It's pretty useful. Right, once everyone's made a file, navigate to pull requests. Now, a pull request is just a way to synchronize what you've done and for us to compare it with our base copy and see what's been changed. So if you click new pull request, and it will give you some information. Now, usually the base repository will be on the left and your repository will be on the right. So this is just saying that you're merging into our repository as opposed to merging our repository into yours. So this is correct. Base repository should be on the left, essentially. And most of the time you should get a little green, able to merge. It would be very rare that you don't, Amy. I think you'd have to
Something like this.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it'll always be green. Now, once you've sort of checked all the information is correct, you click create pull request, and then just add a description.
Yeah, this is what's important. If you could just tell us here what topic you did, which should be fairly self-explanatory from the decision tree, but that just makes it easier for us when going through the pull requests.
Yeah, just makes it a bit more easy. And then make sure you have checked allow edits by maintainers, because if that's checked, that means if you've made like a small tiny mistake, typo something somewhere, we can just fix it there and then. If that's unchecked, then we'll have to close the pull request and reject it, and you'll have to do it again. So this is just a bit of a time saver for you, pretty much. Right, cool. And then we create the pull request. Right. So we've done the pull request.
So what you're going to do in the one that you formed is go to the decision trees folder, just like Anna showed. And all you have to do, so I did this one as a PNG. So I just made the flowchart and saved it as a picture. So this one is just example, and all I'm doing is committing directly to the master branch and saving it in that folder. Once it does it. So again, you're literally just navigating to decision trees and then adding a file here and create new file. Either, like Anna showed before, do it in text form, if that makes sense to you, if that's what you'd like to do. Or you can create it in picture form. And then same thing again, merging it to openTenancy. The other thing as well, so what we've put up now is this is what we have, what am I trying to say, Anna? This is what we've already automated. So these are the questions that we already ask.
Yes.
This is the very first question that they get asked. You don't have a lawyer. And then we go, okay, which category best describes your issue? Eventually we'll have all the other categories here. For now, for our minimum viable product, it'll just be repairs. We will already check with them if they have a tenancy agreement. What's really cool as well, so this color code is just something that I put together because I'm a very visual learner. You don't have to color code it if you don't want to. It's whatever works best for you. So here on the side, we've done some definitions such as tenancy agreement, because obviously some people won't know what that means. So you can just pop definitions on the side if you'd like to, and we add that in where basically they'll hover over the tenancy agreement and then it'll pop up with the definition for them. Here, obviously we check valid verbal tenancy agreements, then that's fine. Is it less than 7 years periodic tenancy? That means they probably don't have any right for repairs under the Landlords and Tenant Act. If they say yes, then that's great. And this is where you come in. This is where we're currently at right now. We've done damp and mold, we've done electricity. I did structural repairs last weekend. But this is where we need help, and that's the list of topics that Anna showed. So I can show you guys quickly, if it's useful as well, the structural problems one that I put together. So it was just, this would be the category. So this picks up from the orange one that I just showed, and then navigates through. Did you damage it yourself? Yes. The yellow's advice in the same way it was there. And we keep navigating along like that. What does it relate to? These are the kind of bits of guidance that I pulled out from Citizens Advice Service, I think it was. I just used their website and kind of navigated there, as well as Tenant's Voice, I believe. I used some guidance from there, as well as the gov.uk website. And I just kept navigating along. Obviously, it doesn't have to be yes or no questions. We're more than happy for it to be multiple choice, and you can make it as complicated or least complicated as you'd like. It's whatever works best there.
Who wants to claim a topic? If they make like a dummy file of the topic name, just like I showed earlier, saying the topic name, send through the pull request and send in the comments something like, I've started this, and then we'll take it off the page of available topics. So that way you don't have multiple people doing the same thing without knowing about it.
Yep. I go to the list of topics. And let's say water heating. If we're looking at interactions to water supply, so what we're starting at, like I said before, is you're imagining that the user just clicked on, okay, water heating. So they literally just click the button right here, and then your questions start then. So you might look at, okay, was it interrupted by an emergency? Why was it interrupted? If we're focusing on, so I might say to you guys, or to Anna, when I make my pull request, okay, I just focused on my water being interrupted. So then I might go down and be like, okay, it was because it was a emergency, if it wants to cooperate, or it might have been a strategic main pipe. Let's say planned.
And I think I was telling Amy earlier about this, but obviously I'm a programmer, I don't have legal experience. But I think a good way to think about it is you've sort of got a set of if-else statements. So if something for the tenancy is this, so for example, if it's a part-time tenancy or a joint tenancy, they will have different outcomes. So sort of pick the questions that will separate the majority of the other questions out, if that makes sense. So you're sort of trying to optimize the that are possible as you head through the interview.
Yeah, so these are just like the different answers, right? You know, you ask the question, this is what they might select. So remember that at the minute, Anna, can you correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have any free text inputs in our questionnaire.
We do somewhere, I think. Oh no, that's a date input. No, I don't.
So for the most part, it's going to be them selecting an option. So what you're doing is breaking it down into options. So here it might be more than 12 hours because apparently then they should provide me with an alternative water supply. So you know, you're just going through the different options. And then what we do at the end is then go, okay, it's been more than 12 hours. Well, they should provide me with, and that's my advice. And so that's where I'd leave it. You can.
Or you could add another outcome saying it's been less than 12 hours, in which case you'd end the interview and you'd be like, okay, so until 12 hours are up, there's not really too much you can do because that's how this sort of contract works.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah, so if you just look for ways in which there is not much more that you can tell them, and that's sort of a natural endpoint for the interview, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, and so you're just breaking it down into basic options, little bits like that. And again, if I wanted to leave it here, like, okay, I had 5 minutes to spare, I quickly started a questionnaire, that's fine. You can save as a picture. Then you're welcome to upload that to openTenancy, to the GitHub. And by doing that, or to do that, you navigate to your local repository. Decision trees, and then add the file. And obviously I've saved it as a draw.io file. You can do it in any format you like. This one's quite nice if you'd like, but you don't need to overcomplicate it. That's just nice because someone else can download that and actually work on it in draw.io.
Straight away, yeah. But again, like, as long as we can see it, it doesn't really matter what format it's in. If it's readable, we're happy to take it.
Yeah. Another thing as well is that if you just want to do a few questions at a time, that's totally fine. Like, say that there was more to go here, you can hop on and we might say, okay, from this section of the decision tree, and you can feel free to just make a decision tree that starts, you know, at this part. That's totally fine. Just whatever's easiest. We just appreciate any kind of contributions. At the minute, it's just me and Anna, so